The Southern Temple Mount is one of the most stunning sights in Israel. Its staircase was a pathway that led right into the first century temple. Archaeologists believe it is the one place you can see today that Jesus actually set foot on as he entered the temple to worship. Coming here stirred many emotions for me, and it brings up one of the biggest questions about Jesus. When did he know he was God? The Bible gives us one clue during the Passover, when Jesus was 12 years old. The temple was the centerpiece of Jerusalem, dating back to King Solomon in the 10th century BC. It was the only place where sacrifices could occur, so it became very crowded during 3 significant feasts every year. Worshippers would first cleanse themselves in baptismal baths called mikvahs, ascend the stairs, and enter through the double gates to worship in the temple, as Jesus would have done 2,000 years ago. I'm standing in front of the entrance to the temple in the first century. What was it about the temple that drew Jesus to it? And what did he know and understand about himself at such an early age?
I believe that especially Mary and also Joseph had a good insight into the task Jesus had to perform when he was growing up, and the way he behaved himself at home, always interested in God and in the Holy Scriptures, always going to the synagogue like any good Jew would do. They would know instinctively that he was most interested. And he must have been very excited when he went for the first time to the temple, and he would be talking about it all the time on the way.
As the 7-day feast of the Passover ended, Jesus' parents were traveling back to Nazareth when they realized Jesus was not with them. They found him questioning the teachers in the temple. Jesus said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house?"
This scene gives us some indication into Jesus' development. By the age of 12, Jesus astonished the smartest Jewish scholars on the planet. Even temple leaders with seminary degrees sat amazed at a 12-year-old's understanding and answers. But the verse says he was asking questions. Was he questioning them or trying to find answers himself?
When he goes to the temple and his parents lose track of him, and he's keeping audience with the prophets, and they're amazed at his questions even, that he would even ask what he's asking. It shows us that yes, during this time, he was becoming more and more familiar with who he was.
Jesus' cognizance of himself appeared to be coming together by the age of 12. For Jesus, this temple was more than just a place he visited 2 or 3 times a year, but his Father's house. To make a statement like that, Jesus had to know who he was, the Son, and his relationship to God, his Father.
Most of us have grown up in a church, and we have this sense when we walk into the church of reverence, of this is where I meet God, this is where I come into the presence of God, this is where God belongs. But I think for Jesus, there must have been something even more personal. I think there was a sense of, I was born in a manger, I've been in Egypt, I've lived in Nazareth, but this is kind of my home because of my calling and my ultimate sacrifice.
If this was his Father's house, I wonder, did he feel all the things we feel in our homes? Those feelings of security, provision, protection. Coming here must have put him in closer touch with his Father. It must have reminded him also of the struggle it took to build this temple.
The temple is a very significant place to Jewish people because of many things. The Bible says that this is the very place where Abraham binded Isaac, and that was the ultimate taste of faith. And Abraham is the father of all believers. The other reason why the temple is so important is because that's supposed to be the only place where Jews sacrifice to God and therefore the only real connection of the people to God. It became also the magnet that put the Jews all together, and physically they would come here each one of the 3 high holidays and gathered many Jews from all over the country and all over the world.
What would it feel like to be Jesus and sit in this newly refurbished temple that just a place of sacrifice, but a building that represented him, a flesh and blood temple that offered the ultimate sacrifice, his own life?
It stirs very deep emotions. It is his Father's house, all the way back to the tabernacle where God dwelt there on the Day of Atonement on Yom Kippur, when God came down in the Shekinah glory.
I imagine the conflict Jesus must have felt, knowing at such an early age that he had 2 fathers in 2 houses.
Wouldn't the Son of God shrug off his earthly parents at this point and rebel like most 12-year-olds, turning to his earthly father and saying, "Who are you to tell me what to do? You're not my father." I don't see that in Jesus. Verse 51 of Luke 2 says, he was obedient to them in Nazareth. Jesus never flaunted his title or disrespected his parents. He acquiesced and willfully submitted himself to his parents. I come to the temple in Jerusalem with complete respect for Jesus, who never rebelled against his Father, earthly or spiritual. He never acted like a smart-aleck 12-year-old know-it-all, even though he knew it all. He loved both of his fathers and respected their roles in his life and lived obediently in both his father's houses.